After playing Ballistic Overkill for so many years now, I probably have a good idea where the character stands up in terms of how good they are, their utility, and versus how their ease of use for new players actually want to pick up this game or not, if they still want to do it. But of course, there will be some people that might be asking, why have you made this video much more earlier when you're still active in Ballistic Overkill? I know, I have my reasons why I should have done this a long time ago, but I got lazy. I've been spending too much time playing Ballistic Overkill, experimenting all these characters to see where they currently stand of, I don't know, a good year already ever since the update, which is October 2018, but whatever. Alright, anyway, obviously since we have 7 characters that we can play in the game, we're going to order them from being the weakest character landing at number 7 for being the very top powerful character that almost all players can use if they want to be complete jackass as number 1. And of course, all these things I might be saying right now reflects my experience of playing these characters, and you might actually have different opinions of them because you play a sort of different way that I might not have played it. If there's things you might be disagreeing with me, you can always drop down in the comments down below and give your explanation why this character should be, let's say, this character from number 6 should be number 1. You can give me a legit explanation why that character deserves to be in the very top spot as compared to the rest of the classes in that list. So now that's out of the way, we can actually start from the very lowest tier, which is number 7th. In that class, it's going to be the Shadow. And a lot of you might be annoyed at the fact that, let's say, probably 40% of your deaths might be coming from katana shadows because either 1, you not be watching your radar, 2, you might not be hearing in your headset or your speaker to indicate that there's a shadow is about to cut your back, or 3, I think you just might be hating Shadow in the general because of the fact how much annoying a lot of players might actually play him as. But those are not the reasons why he's in very low in the list. The very sole reason why he's in low in the list is actually almost rest of the classes in general, because it's the other classes that actually rank above him is giving him problems on how to engage him. Obviously, his kits consist of using SMGs, machine pistols, and also katanas. And despite the fact machine pistols and SMGs output a good amount of damage, his amount of HP pool that he actually had is the lowest, it's just 150, and also there's a lot of things that's kind of holding him back for being the powerful character that he should be in the list. And that being is, when you actually go invisible, you actually do produce this really annoying sound to yourself and people around you. And if you're on the enemy team, if you actually do pick up this sound, you're going to know that there's a shadow that's going to be on your way, and you're going to be looking around the map or your radar to see if there's anyone's going to come near you. And once you actually know where this person's coming from, you can actually prepare yourself and take a significant step ahead of this shadow player that's about to flank you. Well, of course, only a good player that knows to play shadow knows how to deal with these disadvantages in a way that he can actually get near you and then just wipe you on the spot. Shadow is a character that's very easy to use because he's very high mobility. His damage output is pretty decent if he's within reasonable ranges of his kit. And also, if you really want to be that very annoying player that drives people insane with your katana, you can play that character. But there's a significant roadblock that kind of hinders him the most, and those 2 characters are going to be the well-known obvious of who's going to be top in the list. If you engage those 2 type of classes on the spot, you're just going to kick them to the side, just like kicking paper into the trash can. Moving to number 6 in the list, as you might already been guessing already, that class is going to be the Grenadier. And despite the fact of his funny lines and the fact that you might be enjoying blowing people up from a distance, his overall kit will not be very user-friendly because of his low DPS output from his SMGs and machine pistols. And as for using his grenade launchers, there's a significant learning curve in how to use them properly, so you can actually maximize the amount of damage to put on your opponents and also put them down in the spot. Of course, you can play the more annoying way of playing Grenadier. It's just by continuously throwing your grenades into the hall and basically playing area denial so that opponents will actually get out of their camps. But if you actually want to play them as an actual weapon, like what you're using with like machine pistols or some other weapons in the game, you're gonna have to learn on how to aim with your grenade launchers and making sure that payload will actually land on your opponents. and you'll be playing sort of a guessing game to see like if your opponent's going to go this certain direction. If this person's going the direction you're thinking, good, that payload should actually hit them with the full damage, and you could probably finish up with another grenade launcher shot, or you could probably just finish up with a portable shotgun called the Rhino. And as much I hate it, it's probably the most effective thing on this grenade launcher loadout. But if you predicted wrong, or your grenade didn't actually hit him at all, or does partial damage, you might actually have a hard time to re-engaging with your opponent, as there's a certain time interval on how much you can spam with the grenade launchers, and all this machine pistols and SMGs actually have a sort of a neuter damage fall off range. So if you're engaging sort of like a assault rifle range with your machine pistol, you might be stretching that damage a bit too thin to the point that you actually be doing very minimal damage, while the person you might be engaged in something like a person that might be using a scope AR rifle just might be like, okay, this person's not nothing to me at all. Since he missed a shot, I'm going to kill him right at this instant before he can retaliate at me. And for Grenadiers' overall skills, there's not that much skills that can actually enhance his gun builds, just as using a combo of machine pistols, or you want to mix between using machine pistols and portable shotgun, or using SMGs and machine pistols as your loadout. There's not much of that, but most of his skills involves using grenade launchers or grenades in general just to boost his blast radius, just damage, and there's a lot of things that was involved with grenade launchers. But for guns, there's not that much options you can choose from besides just like one or two that you can pick from that could kind of suit your game. And so he's a fun character to play as just by throwing grenades and blowing people up and see people fly 10 feet across the air or something like that, as I did a couple of times in a couple of videos. But overall, he's not a character that might actually hold enough value in the team unless you're like that type of player that likes to wreck everyone in the player, but that's just the player himself, not the character. And so he brings some fun to the field and some annoyance factor, but at the same time, he's not a powerful character that will bring a lot to the table. Coming to the number 5th tier of the ranking list, if I actually say this class, you might should be surprised why I actually decided to put him in this specific range out of all the characters that's above him. But at the same time though, there could be some good reasons why. So if I were to say, if you actually put this one character within this one type of scenario in close quarter range, he would absolutely annihilate the player that's in front of him, and literally he can destroy everyone within this close quarter range. But if you actually try to extend that range a bit further from that, let's just say a scope assault rifle range, then his value as a whole deteriorates significantly. And that class is going to be the Berserker. And as you already know, Berserker is one of those characters that can significantly encourage you to play super aggressively with the shotguns. And that one specific shotgun called the Thumper can literally instantly chew through even tanks within its optimal range. And his range itself is already insane, but if you add Shotgun Expert on top of that, literally you're going to actually have a weapon that can shred through every single person. And even with tanks with Last Stand, just need 2 bursts and they're dead on the spot already. And with his other arsenals, such as using machine pistols and SMGs, those damage values for his weapons in general will actually have much more higher DPS as compared to use something like Grenadier or Shadow. And if you actually keep killing people, you're actually going to get a significant buff that allows you to go pound town and start wrecking all the scrubs with your damage reduction of 30%. And on top of that, you actually have skills you can select from just to tailor your aggressiveness of using Berserker, such as like you want to boost movement, you can do that. If you actually want to increase a little bit more damage to your guns, you can add that too. But if you want to keep that Berserker mode 24/7 out of the time at a penalty of like reduction by 50%, you can do that too. And of course, despite all the good things I might have said about Berserker, I'm able to shred almost all of the classes within its effective range. But if you actually try to engage something like a Wraith or a Marksman who's sniping from a fair, or Vanguard using the Widower, or Tank using the Hornet, shooting from far away, that's when his values started to deteriorate, as you actually have to, chase after them, run to the spot in order to get your optimal time to kill on that within that range. But most of the time, by the time you're running over there, you might be overpowered with all their long range weaponry, and by the time you get there, you might be already dead. And you actually have to play a certain way to allow you to get super close to your opponent in order to kill them on the spot in close quarter combat. And even you actually have the buff activated that allows you to survive let's say, a sniper rifle that does 205 damage to the body, and that gets reduced roughly around 189. That still leaves you vulnerable to be hit with another bullet, even with the SMG or machine pistol within range. And who knows? There's no way to tell if you're still underneath the buff or not. So it's pretty unpredictable to see like if you're still underneath that Berserker mode. And there are times that you might be thought like you're in the Berserker mode, but a simple machine pistol might kill you on the spot. So for Berserker overall, if he's in close range, he absolutely is a top tier character if you're actually a fan of going after faces and just slapping across the face to the point that you just smack him across the map or something. But if you actually try gauge to, for example, for Wraith, for example, that's when his value deteriorates significantly quickly, as he can't really deal with those type of opponents actually shooting from afar. For the class that's holding the forge position, that's actually going to be, it's going to be Wraith. And probably for the general audience, saying that like, oh, for those characters actually specified in sniping, they should be staying back all the way at the back of the map, camping in this one corner and just pricking people off from a distance with, just by staying still, go invisible, go shoot them in the body and they're dead, just camp there for the rest of your life. That's it. But no, as we all know, playing Wraith long enough already, doing a simple body shot towards the body can literally wipe out almost 4 out of the 7 classes that it's available in the game. And like that, this allows to open up a lot of players that likes to, learn how to play sniping or likes to go pound town by shooting people in the body shots, as rather going for those headshots that like some games like the emphasis on, such as like Overwatch, like Widowmaker, that if you actually land those headshots, your value goes up significantly, but you actually have to engage at much longer ranges. Or in Destiny 2, which emphasizes landing those headshots, but it makes it a little bit easier with his bullet mechanism it actually has, but you still gotta land those headshots. And there's a couple games out there that I might not have mentioned, but those, by doing that to Wraith in this game, this would actually put him much more lower in the tier list, as currently right now, having high damage towards the body significantly bumps him up to show how powerful he is if he actually has access to doing full damage towards the body. And for characters such as Tank and Vanguard actually has significantly higher HP pool, he can just simply use the interdiction, which is the highest powerful sniper in the game, which deals with damage 256. But if you shoot towards the head, they're guaranteed to be dead on the spot. And for those of you who are not a fan of using the scope all the time, you actually have options to use the laser sight weapons such as the Curator and the Judge, which allows you to shoot all your shots at the middle of the screen regardless where you're going to shoot at. And this obviously allows to open up more for more aggressive sniping. And of course, this really discourages of using your scope in general, because that's how all games are operated on. And if you're actually playing this playstyle, you're pretty much playing with a long-range shotgun that can kill people within all ranges, because all sniper rifles doesn't have a damage fall off. And if you play like that, that's just you. I won't say anything about it. But most of the time, you're going to be engaged for either to medium to long range. For most scope rifles doesn't have a laser, but if you're using those 2 weapons, those sort of opens up for more options of playstyle that you could play close range engagement just by pointing that laser at their body and boom, they're dead. Or you just want to be in the back and let your allies do the distracting, while you can actually stay behind and just start pricking all the players from behind and steal all those players' kills that your fellow teammates would not appreciate what you're doing. And you probably might be driving the other player that you might just killed, so that person might be going after you. Well, that's when all the values goes to, sort of downwards for Wraith, because of course his greatest weakness is actually his close quarter combat, such as using machine pistols and pistols, while as if there's any other weapon they could use, that would be the scope LMGs. But most of the time, those LMGs are not quite as nice as using something like tanks, but they're still usable enough that you can use them as normally as you normally would for any scope weapons. And if you actually have a lingering shadow that might be behind your back with the Shinobi, you can literally just one chop you in the body, you're being dead on the spot. And so for those new players who wants to play Wraith, like playing already aggressive already, you're probably going to see yourself dying a whole lot of times before you realize like on his how far you can actually take his playstyle to the limits of what you can possibly can do with him. And so that's why I think where he currently stands. But I believe there's going to be a lot of people out there that's going to argue with me saying like, oh, Wraith should be like certainly higher in spot if it's the right player and all. But like again I said, I'm actually judging these characters based on their sole abilities as a whole, not judging how the player can use these classes because obviously when someone can make a character look good, but when a new player decides to pick that character up because like, hey, I make Grenadier look so good because I play some so well with it, and they play with them and they think, oh my god, this character sucks. That's why I'm trying to try to separate so that you guys might have know like how powerful these characters are just by themselves without a player influencing them that makes them look good. And so that's where I currently stand with Wraith. Of course, there's going to be you guys will be arguing in the comments, and so we can discuss it from there. But let's move on to the number 3 spot, and that's going to be Marksman. And some of you guys might be surprised, like Marksman, he's supposed to be a hybrid between Wraith and Vanguard because of his utilities he can do. But I have my reasons why he's in that spot. It's actually his basic utility that allows him to see people in his radar, which is his passive trait. But of course, if you want to take things a step further and be that pricking person that likes to stay in the back using this specific build that allows you to one-shot people in the body and always constantly be in his radar, that's when his value significantly goes up significantly, as he's going to always know where you are on a random map no matter where you are. And even playing as an invisible character like Wraith or Shadow, if he actually has the awareness skill on him right now, he's going to know where you are, and by the time you get close to him, he's going to already point his gun at your face and boom, you're dead on the spot. And also, not only that, but he also has a variety of play styles you can actually play by. So most of his skills are kind of flexible in the way you can sort of mix and match them up. So if you actually want to play a more of a self-regenerating Vanguard that allows you to engage with like long range engagements of like using the Marauder or the Hunter, you can actually grab a skill that reduces the recoil of these 2 assault rifles. And also, if you want to like be that precision type of marksman that likes to go through the headshots, you can put that on there and literally you can see those heads popping within 2 or 3 balls and they're dead already. Or if you want to be the sniper build person that likes to like variably one-shot body shot of your first shot, you can go ahead, slap on preparation, use either ward or drone, and just basically go pound town, shoot in the body, boom, they're dead already. And congratulations, you can kill up to like 6 out of the 7 classes, except for Vanguard using extended DNA to buff up his HP pool. But other than that, Marksman is a class that is very flexible on a lot of builds you can actually do with him. And there's a lot, trust me, there's a lot of builds I can do with Marksman. And each of them equally can perform as well within each other. And I can guarantee you, Marksman is probably the most versatile class you could play with. And none of the skill builds are wrong. But probably the only thing that's holding him back is actually he can't excel either one of those roles. So let's say, for instance, if you actually want a high powerful rifle that can, one-shot, body shot, something like a Wraith could, you could do that, but you kind of sacrificing the constant damage you actually have to do for Marksman by reloading that first bolt every time just to match that same damage output that Wraith could do with his interdiction. If you actually are into using assault rifle builds and you want to dish out as much damage as possible with your assault rifle that you have, though his weapon is not going to match the firepower that Vanguard has. And I'm not saying Marksman's assault rifles are bad or anything, but overall, Vanguard's assault rifle actually outperforms Marksman guns by a milestone, depending on what type of weapon you're actually using. And yeah, that basically sums up Marksman. He's a jack of all trades type of person, but he doesn't really excel on like which one's super good versus super bad or anything. And that's currently my stand with Marksman. And you probably already know that Marksman is my very, very class of all time because of his flexible utility I could do with him. And yeah, that's my favorite class, but he's number 3 in the list. And probably for number 2 in this list, you probably would have known it's going to be Tank. Tank is going to be one of those annoying classes you're going to have to face against depending on the type of build that he's actually used with. So, if you actually build Tank to be the close quarter rushing tank type of person, you can basically use Last Stand and just like Raging Bolt just to like, you can just continuously run all over the map and just basically kill people on spot with his shotguns, or his mammoth actually is to kill people on the spot already. And even if you do kill him and he's already using Last Stand already, and by the time you kill him, he also has another opportunity to kill you with his Blackhawk. And of course that annoys you the most because, like, let's say if you're playing Wraith and you already headshot him in the head already, Tank's going to go down on the ground and he has 3 or 4 seconds out of his life just to bring you down with him, as a saying that, you know, hey, you killed me, I'll drag you down with me so that I make you regret killing me in the first place. And there are always some instances that the tank is going to be on the ground, try to shoot with his Blackhawk, and ends up shooting you in the head with a full damage at 180. And you as a player that killed him is like, hey, what the hell killed me right there? And that was until you actually decide to read the kill feed, and you see him headshot you with a Blackhawk. You're gonna be super furious at the fact that he is like, hey, you killed him, you put this much effort to kill him, but in return, he kills you on the spot with a headshot with a Blackhawk. And if you want to make things a little bit worse, if you're playing Tank, just slap on Provoke and Last Stand, and when the player's actually shooting you while you're on the ground, that damage is going to beef up significantly that you can actually burst them with like either 1 or 2 shots with your Blackhawk within range, and you can pretty much annoy them as much as you could with your Last Stand. And trust me, I hate it myself too, but I did a build like that sometime last year or something, and I made a whole lot of players mad because of that build. And not only that he actually has other utility that can allow you to wipe out other characters too with his light machine guns. Let's just say using the chainsaw, using the brute, and if you actually want to engage in stretching and long range engagements, you actually have the horn available that is scope. But if you actually prefer a much more like a whole graphic scope, you actually have the pry bar and also the starring LMG in case you want to have a much more open sight when you're actually aiming down the sights. And also you actually have the shotguns available for him, such as Rampart, Pile Driver, and also his other portable shotgun that allows him to be moving all over the place and just like basically 1 or 2 shot people with his portable shotgun and basically driving people insane. And for that alone, Tank is probably the one of the annoying classes you actually have to face against. And if you're actually facing a good tank player that knows how to flex his weaknesses and only focus on his strength, he's going to be a much hard target for you to put down unless you actually have a good amount of people just to, do a 3v1, or you need the whole entire team to put him down. And with him doing 1v1, most of the time, Tank's going to be the more dominant one out of the whole classes, except the one above him, of course. And for the final number 1 spot, the most powerful, the most annoying, the most easy to use, and the most notorious character to go against and also play with too, is obviously going to be the Vanguard. And Vanguard is probably the jack of all trades classes too, but he takes it a step further because he actually has the good amount of range that a marksman can do, and he has the most damage out of his ARs. His shotgun is significantly more lethal than those of Berserker has, and basically all of his skills can, be just as bad as like with other builds too. One could be much more simple than the others, but depending on how you play, all of them are just as annoying just to deal with too, no matter what. And basically Vanguard can engage all type of scenarios. If it's long range, no problem. I could just use a straightforward widower to kill a raid from a good distance by laying headshots. Oh, there's a freaking shadows coming a long way. A berserker's coming with aping with the shotgun. No problem. I'll just use the freaking bloody thumb to shut them down on the spot and deny them for existence for doing that. And with his massive HP pool of 250, but if you actually want to be much more annoying, you can slap on modified DNA to ramp up his HP to 290, making it much more difficult but to shut you down with. And of course, as you might have known or at this point, as you might be killed by this particular player or some other player all the time that rocks this build, using the widower, the barrage, and just basically using some other skills that basically beef up your utility overall. And paired with widower and barrage, if he kills you, he's just basically overcoming the vicinity disadvantages of using the widower of his slow reload speed, and all he has to do is just to shut you down on the spot, and basically he can go to Pound Town just by continuously mindlessly aiming his widower 24/7, and all he has to do is just stand in this one spot and just basically, if he sees someone, point that scope at your body and boom, go Pound Town and make sure you're down the spot within a millisecond or so. And if there's ways to put down a Vanguard, is very little options that you can do, and that being is either to snipe in the head or shock him towards the body and hope it actually kills him entirely, or you better hope that Vanguard player does not know where you are if you try to flank him. Otherwise, you're gonna meet death in your face if he actually finds out you're trying to sneak behind him. And so that wraps up the whole entire ranking video, and I know this is pretty much a long video for me to go through, and this is probably the very first time I actually talk for 26 straight minutes from this point on, talking about how good or bad the classes are in this game and how some ways that this character can interact with this character or such. And so I thank you for listening all the way through of this whole entire video. If you do like this video, you can drop down either like or dislike if you like the video or hated this video, or even want to actually have some discussions on terms of where the character stands in the tier list. You can go ahead and comment down below and we'll probably have a good discussion about it. And so that does it for me today on this video. This is First 7G, and I hope to see you in the next video.